expression, a little music from someone who's young and Jewish and cool, and he's a YouTube sensation. Aaron Les is going to sing for us. Big round of applause.
Hey, what's up guys? It's good to be here. I just got in from Portland before Shabbos. First Jews are indigenous to the Middle East, and all we're asking is for a little peace. Been oppressed ever since we were dispossessed, enslaved, arrested, and put to death. But we persevered, never disappeared. Been in Israel for thousands of years. Thank God we've been able to overcome. We're still living in the land that we come from. Some people say that Ashkenazi originally came from Germany, but Ashkenazi, and he'll disagree, doesn't think we're part of his family tree. He's actually right about one thing at least. We're not from Europe, we're from the Middle East, but the Romans came and destroyed our home, overthrown. Some of us had to go on the roam, but there was Jews who never left the land. They just got crushed by the Caesar's hand, slaughtered like sheep at home and abroad, with no other choice but to turn to God. Divided and conquered, our enemies tried to end us with the worldwide genocide, but Hitler failed, our people prevailed, and we still stand strong in Israel. Cause Jews are indigenous to the Middle East, and all we're asking is for a little peace. Been oppressed ever since we were dispossessed, enslaved, arrested, and put to death, but we persevere, never disappear. Been in Israel for thousands of years. Thank God we've been able to overcome. We're still living in the land that we come from. Though I can handle the snow in Ohio, if I follow my roots I know where they go. I'm Midwest born, but I'm from the Middle East, where my deceased ancestors rest in peace. In Hebron I couldn't hold back my tears at that grave my forefathers felt so near. I stopped in Bethlehem, broke down and cried when I realized this was where my grandmother died. In Jerusalem I was bawling, cause all that remains of our temple is the Wailing Wall. It's been standing alone since our exile began, when many were forced to flee from the land. Some stayed, but those who wandered away prayed to return 3 times every day. And now we've been answered, and last we stand together with our clan in the Holy Land. Cause Jews are indigenous to the Middle East, and all we're asking is for a little peace. Been oppressed ever since we were dispossessed, enslaved, arrested, and put to death, but we persevere, never disappear. Been in Israel for thousands of years. Thank God we've been able to overcome. We're still living in the land that we come from. And I think people forget that. People forget that, like, Jews don't come from Brooklyn. You know what I'm saying? We don't come from Poland. We come from the Middle East. It's very clear. That's where our ancestors are buried. That's where we have so many historical traditions and even people who have literally been living there in unbroken chains since the times of our ancestors. You know, there really have been Jews in the Holy Land for the whole time. There was never a time where we were completely gone. And this is one of my biggest beefs with the whole claim that Israel is an apartheid state. You're comparing us to the British and Dutch who came to South Africa? We're from Israel. This is where we're from. The British and Dutch aren't from the southern coast of Africa. They have no business being there. This is our home. We don't have any other home. This song's called Apartheid. I want to like tell you, remind people what was apartheid really about, and then let's see if Israel is an apartheid state, guys. People say apartheid state, but I can't relate to that baseless hate. It's not really fair to try and compare a racist regime with the war on terror. Using common sense against violence, Israel had to build up the border fence. And if you think that's apartheid, it's because you don't know what apartheid really was. For 2,000 years the Jews are wrong, but we always called Israel our home. Unlike the British and Dutch who came to South Africa where they had no claim. They already had countries overseas, but they wanted to expand to new colonies. So they conquered the natives, bought and sold their land. They stole all the diamonds and gold. The whites united and decided to create South Africa as a democratic state, but soon they denied blacks voting rights. So the whole government was controlled by whites. The House and the Senate and all of the courts were white, so the black people had no support. Plus the police would arrest and beat any peaceful protesters in the street. They divided everybody into 4 different races, moved them by force into separate places. So if you were Indian, black or brown, you had no business in a white town. They had segregation of transportation, buses, bus stops, trains and train stations, separate ambulance, different doctor and nurse, and the black hospitals were always worse. Restaurants, hotels, and the public park might be off limits. If your skin was dark, it was a crime, and you could get more than a fine if you crossed the line of that whites only sign. They had separate teachers at different schools, black and white beaches and swimming pools, cafes and movie theaters wouldn't let folks in, discriminating if they had the wrong color skin. No mixed marriage, it was a criminal act for a white person to have sex with a black. Apartheid went from the womb till the tomb, couldn't even take a dump in the same bathroom. So people say Israel's an apartheid state, but I can't relate to that baseless hate. It's not really fair to try and compare a racist regime with the war on terror. Using common sense against violence, Israel had to build up the border fence. And if you think that's apartheid, it's because you don't know what apartheid really was. In Israel, apartheid is not the case, because regardless of gender, religion, and race, all Israeli citizens, black, brown, and white, have equal social and political rights. So the Arab Israeli population, which makes up 20% of the nation, might be a minority, but at least they can vote, unlike the rest of the Middle East. Look at the whole region, you'll see only Israel is truly a democracy, where every citizen's right to vote is protected. So Arab officials often get elected. That's an important point, so let me stress it. There's a dozen Arabs with seats in the Knesset, plus an Arab judge on the Supreme Court, so they don't fall short on government support. Everyone has access to the same schools, the same beaches and the same swimming pools, the same resorts and the hotel guest rooms, same public parks and public restrooms, same cinemas, restaurants, cafes, same train, buses, taxis and highways, same doctors and nurses. All deliveries of babies are done in the same facilities. Arab Israeli life expectancy is great, up by 27 years since 1948, and their infant mortality rates have declined from 32 per thousand to less than 9, and they're doing much better economically relative to every other Arab country. There's no restriction on choice of career. They can even join the military if they volunteer. They work and reside wherever they please, from a lot all the way to the Sea of Galilee. They live in the very same cities as Jews, on the same street, in the same house if they choose. So people say Israel's an apartheid state, but I can't relate to that baseless hate, cause it's not really fair to try and compare a racist regime with the war on terror. Using common sense against violence, Israel had to build up the border fence. And if you think that's apartheid, it's because you don't know what apartheid really was. I think it's really important that people get the full picture, because first of all, in Israel, 20% of the population are Palestinians who live peacefully and enjoy the rights that they have and don't want to move. They don't want to go anywhere else. That's one part of the equation, that Israel does not discriminate against Palestinians who are citizens of Israel. Unlike any other country in the Middle East, where it is very, very difficult to be a religious minority, as many people here can testify to. Another point is, those people who do not have those rights, who do not have citizenship to Israel, there's kind of a reason. There's violent acts that get committed against Israel time and time again, to the point that they have no other choice but to build up this fence to keep this violence out of their streets. And it's been very effective, actually. So this song's about Hamas, because I think people need a reality check. My friend in Oregon, he says, I don't know what's wrong with people. They think Hamas needs a hug or something, and then they'll just stop what they're doing. This is not who we're dealing with, guys.
Can you sing the song about the BDS movement as well?
You want to criticize Israel, that's cool, but if you support Hamas, you're a fool. Unless you want radical Islamic rule and stockpiles of rockets at your kids' school. Remember, they send their own people out strapped with suicide bombs blowing up in their lap. You think they seek peace? That's a bunch of crap. They just want to wipe Israel off the map. Let me start off slow so you don't get lost. Palestinians are not the same as Hamas. Though they may live in the same location, Hamas is a terrorist organization. They might call themselves freedom fighters, but they're just like the Taliban and Al-Qaeda, using lethal force against Arabs, Jews, and anyone else who disagrees with their views. Due to their violence, they have been banned from Jordan, Canada, and Japan, the whole EU, plus the UK, Australia, Egypt, and the USA. But in Israel, the situation is harder. They kidnap Israelis and use them to barter. If one murders Jews, he's raised as a martyr. Just take a look at Hamas's own charter. They want Islam controlling the whole Middle East. 2 states don't interest them in the least. So tell me how Jews are supposed to make peace with the enemy who just wants to see us deceased. You want to criticize Israel, that's cool, but if you support Hamas, you're a fool. Unless you want radical Islamic rule and stockpiles of rockets at your kids' school. Remember, they send their own people out strapped with suicide bombs blowing up in their lap. You think they seek peace? That's a bunch of crap. They just want to wipe Israel off the map. Gazans are living in poverty, but Hamas just went on a building spree of underground tunnels through which they plan to unleash attacks on Israeli land. They used 80,000 tons of cement, a valuable resource that could have went to development of new apartments to help Palestinians who can't pay the rent. Iran has given them hundreds of millions, but they shoot it all at Israeli civilians. Their rockets get blown by the Iron Dome while their own people are starving at home. And it's even worse on the battlefield, where they wield civilians like human shields. Israel uses weapons when its people are threatened, but Hamas uses people to protect its weapons. If I was from Gaza, I would be pissed, but to be honest, I wouldn't resist, cause Hamas's rivals all wind up dead, tortured before they get shot in the head. So you wanna criticize Israel, that's cool, but if you support Hamas, you're a fool. Unless you want radical Islamic rule and stockpiles of rockets at your kids' school. Remember, they send their own people out strapped with suicide bombs blowing up in their laps. You think they seek peace? That's a bunch of crap. They just want to wipe Israel off the map. To me, you do a little reality check. You remember who Hamas is, and it's like stunning that the world is calling for a boycott of Israel. That's crazy, right? Why don't you boycott Hamas, right? I mean, that's kind of what Israel is doing with the blockade. Everyone's like, oh, bring down the blockade. Why is there a blockade? Because if you open it up, they will bring as much weapons in as possible and shoot them at civilians. I'm sorry for the Palestinians who are caught in the middle of this. Like I said, I really do feel sorry for them. There's got to be some solution to get their innocent people away from the radical terrorists who live there. I don't have that solution. I don't know what it is. But for sure, Hamas has to be disarmed. I agree. They've proven time and time again that they are not you know, friendly towards other people, basically. It's like a kid, if they're like throwing stuff in their room, you're not gonna like give them a knife then, you know what I'm saying? Like they're already being bad, you know what I mean? Like what, you're gonna reward their behavior for like throwing objects around? Double standard that you see in the world, that you have organizations like Hamas, and for some reason the West is like supporting them. You have like Penelope Cruz and other celebrities who are like, yay, Hamas. What? Why are you supporting Hamas and boycotting Israel? It's like the most illogical thing ever. If you, like, I wish that Americans would go try to spend a day in Israel and go try to spend a day in you know, Hamas land, okay? You will not survive there. You will do much better in Israel, trust me. You want Israel to thrive, believe me, America. And it's not just Hamas, obviously. It's not just Hamas. You look all around the world. You look at ISIS. You look at what's going on to the Yazidis. You look at what's going on anywhere, really. And you can see there's atrocities going on all around the world. And yet, the media, everybody is focusing on Israel trying to defend themselves against terrorism. This song I did is called Boycott Israel. You guys might have seen it before. Boycott Israel if you think that's just, but unless you have a double standard, you must also boycott the rest of the nations with allegations of human rights violations. We're not perfect, but if you think we're the worst, first take a look at the rest of the earth. Don't pick and choose to pick on the Jews. Pick up the paper and read the news. Boycott North Korea. I don't think you'll see a country in the world that could be unfreer. A boycott China, let's not forget they stole the whole country of Tibet. Boycott Japan, slaughtering thousands of helpless innocent whales and dolphins. Boycott Vietnam, where they choose to use drug addicts and slaves to shell cashews. Boycott Cambodia, grabbing up land, 5 million acres from the poor man's hand. Boycott Thailand for shutting the door and deporting refugees back to the war. Boycott Burma, don't let your cash slip into the grip of that military dictatorship. Boycott India, women can't escape when the government officials are guilty of rape. Boycott Pakistan, crazy country where they execute people for blasphemy. And boycott Afghanistan, opium land where the poppy fields stand in the Taliban's hand. And boycott Israel if you think that's just, but unless you have a double standard, you must also boycott the rest of the nations with allegations of human rights violations. We're not perfect, but if you think we're the worst, first take a look at the rest of the earth. Don't pick and choose to pick on the Jews. Pick up the paper and read the news. Boycott Syria, their government's killing thousands of innocent unarmed civilians. Boycott Iraq, make them change the laws that lock up and torture people without cause. Boycott Iran with the greatest rate of execution out of every other state. Boycott Turkey, cause they've always denied and lied about the Armenian genocide. Boycott Turkmenistan, where the only media that you ever see is what the president of Libya. Boycott Uzbekistan, government's rotting, enslaving children to harvest cotton. Boycott Russia, because every year more Muslims mysteriously disappear. Boycott Ukraine, where the politicians lock up the opposition so there's no competition. Boycott Belarus, presidents gotta go. You know those elections are just for show. And boycott Germany, cause there's no reparations for murdering half the Jewish population. Israel if you think that's just, but unless you have a double standard, you must also boycott the rest of the nations with allegations of human rights violations. We're not perfect, but if you think we're the worst, first take a look at the rest of the earth. Don't pick and choose to pick on the Jews. Pick up the paper and read the news. Boycott Sudan, the Darfur genocide, where hundreds of thousands have already died. Boycott Egypt, don't let that narrow-minded dictator keep acting like Pharaoh. Boycott Saudi Arabian oppression of women getting beat up and treated like possessions. Boycott Bahrain police brutality against the Shiites by the Sunni monarchy. Boycott Yemen, make them stop the obscene execution of juveniles under 18. Boycott Eritrea, national slavery where they work for free indefinitely. Boycott the Congo, doing terrible things to sell blood diamond engagement rings. And boycott Zimbabwe, structure behind those government minds. Boycott South Africa, make them pay for the hundreds of women raped every day. Boycott Ivory Coast, sound the alarm. There's thousands of slaves on those cocoa farms. And boycott Israel if you think that's just. But unless you have a double standard, you must also boycott the rest of the nations with allegations of human rights violations. Not perfect, but if you think we're the worst, first take a look at the rest of the earth. Don't pick and choose to pick on the Jews. Pick up the paper and read the news. Boycott Chile, where they deny abortions even if the mother will die. And boycott Brazil, where the brutal police kill thousands of people to keep the peace. Boycott Venezuela, closer inspection shows that the socialists stole the election. Boycott Colombia, putting out the lights of anyone who fights for union rights. Boycott Ecuador, stealing the land of indigenous people for their corporate plans. And boycott Costa Rica, where they've applied so much pesticide that hundreds have died. Boycott Honduras, where a journalist gets shot if he writes anything like this. Boycott Mexico in the war on drugs. The military acts like the cartel thugs. Boycott the USA, make them pay for torturing people in Guantanamo Bay. And boycott Cuba, but if the government hears you criticize them, you'll be locked up for years. Boycott Israel if you think that's just. But unless you have a double standard, you must also boycott the rest of the nations with allegations of human rights violations. Not perfect, but if you think we're the worst, first take a look at the rest of the earth. Don't pick and choose to pick on the Jews. Pick up the paper and read the news. Thank you guys so much. My name's Ari Lesser. It's really been a pleasure to come out here and sing for you guys. I do have CDs if you guys like what I do. I came all the way from West Coast, so I could really use a few bucks gas money. Please come pick it up. You guys want one more? Yeah! All right, one more. This is but it's about the story of Purim, the book of Esther. It's a famous story. So it goes like this. This song goes out to Ahmadinejad. The Jews don't fear you, we fear God. We don't give a damn about your evil plan, cause no man can stand up against God's hand. Not the first to curse us, won't be the last. And if I were you, I would learn from the past. Many came before you to do us wrong, but they're all long gone and we still stand strong. In ancient Iran lived a man named Haman, who rose in the capital of Shushan. When he walked down the street, every man he would meet was commanded to bow to the ground at his feet. But there was one guy named Mordecai, a Jew who served only God Most High. And day after day he refused to obey, so Haman decided he would make him pay. But it wasn't enough just to kill one man. Instead he devised a grand master plan, persuaded the king to kill every Jew from the land of Cush all the way to Hodu. Drew random lots to determine the date, put our people's lives in the hands of fate. And it fell on the 13th day of Adar, they would slay every Jew both near and far. When we heard the news, we wept and fasted. Sackcloth and ashes spread through the masses. We humbled our hearts, all of Israel, prayed that the wicked Haman would fail. This song goes out to Ahmadinejad. The Jews don't fear you, we fear God. We don't give a damn about your evil plan, cause no man can stand up against God's hand. Not the first to curse us, won't be the last. And if I were you, I would learn from the past. Many came before you to do us wrong, but they're all long gone and we still stand strong. Haman just could not wait for the date that the Jewish people would meet their fate, cause every day he saw Mordecai at the gate and his heart was filled with so much hate. When he complained to his friends and his wife, they told Haman, just take that Jew's life. So he built the gallows 50 amos high and tried to have the king hang Mordecai. But the queen secretly turned out to be a girl from a nice Jewish family, and she came came into the king, told him that someone was trying to wipe out her kin. Enraged that anyone would threaten the life of those close to the woman he chose as a wife, the king asked her, who's behind this plan? She replied, this wicked Haman is the man. He trembled in terror, he lost control. He begged Queen Esther to spare his soul, but the king decided Haman must die on the gallows that he had made for Mordecai. This song goes out to Ahmadinejad. The Jews don't fear you, we fear God. We don't give a damn about your evil plans, cause no man can stand up against God's hand. Not the first to curse us, won't be the last. And if I were you, I would learn from the past. Man, he came before you to do us wrong, but they're all long gone and we still stand strong. President of Iran, you're just like Haman, but instead of the gallows, you're building a bomb. You want to see Mordecai's family dead, but your wickedness will drop down on your own head. Open your ears, we won't disappear. Been in here 3,800 years. We were slaves to Pharaoh, but God set us free and tossed the Egyptians in the Red Sea. The wicked Balak and Balaam tried messing with us, but their curse turned into a blessing. Canaanites tried to fight us, but all of them had to fall like Jericho's walls. Goliath the Philistine talked a lot before we got knocked out with a slingshot. Assyrians conquered every other land, but they ran when they came up against God's hand. Babylon took us into captivity, but we're back. They've been gone since BCE. And Haman, who decreed every Jew should die, he got hanged on the gallows he made for Mordecai. Our enemies fade, but we still exist. You really want to add your name to the list? You've been warned. If you don't proceed with caution, we'll name a food after you like Hatun Tash. And this song goes out to Ahmadinejad. The Jews don't fear you, we fear God. We don't give a damn about your evil plan, cause no man can stand up against God's hand. Not the first to curse us, won't be the last. And if I were you, I would learn from the past. Man, he came before you to do us wrong, but they're all long gone and we still stand strong. So thank you guys so much. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm Ari Lesser. I'll be wandering around. Come say what's up. I'd love to meet you guys. And we got a lot more great speakers and entertainment for you. So please stick around. Call your friends. Tell them to come down. All the best. Baruch Hashem.